So Southwest Airlines is getting a lot of backlash after thousands of Americans were stranded and some remain stranded during holiday travel. Thousands of flights have been canceled, the majority of which, of course, were canceled due to a winter storm. But once the storm was no longer an issue, Southwest Airlines still failed in helping people out, helping them rebook flights, helping them get to where they need to be. In some cases, people were stranded at the airport on Christmas Eve and are still stranded today. And they're just trying to get back home and they can't because apparently Southwest has not invested enough into their system to help them determine which pilots are available, which crew is available. Everything's just a giant mess. People have lost their luggage. And so Pete Buttigieg goes on CNN. He's being interviewed by Wolf Blitzer. And a few interesting things happen. Number one, you have Buttigieg saying, we made these airlines promise us that they will do better. Okay, but that's not legislation. That doesn't translate into actual binding laws. It's like the equivalent of a verbal agreement. And then he talks about we're gonna hold them accountable. Okay, how? And Wolf Blitzer kept mentioning like, are they gonna get fined? Are they gonna get fined? Okay, they might get fined. Southwest might get fined, but is that really gonna make a difference? But Cenk, the thing that really got to me was when Wolf Blitzer asked Pete Buttigieg, shouldn't the federal government reimburse some of these travelers? Meaning us, the taxpayers. Since Southwest Airlines didn't do the proper investments into their system to make sure that they can keep track of their pilots, the crews, the baggage, all of that stuff. Now it's up to us, the United States taxpayers, to subsidize Southwest Airlines even more by reimbursing all of the customers that they screwed over. How about no? Man, it's a habit. It's really like part of who members of the corporate media are. Anything to provide cover for corporations, their greed, and their obsession with profits.
Yeah. No, they've just gotten used to it. Like if a corporation loses money, well, that's not allowed, is it? They have to be subsidized by the American taxpayers. That's what we call capitalism. Wait, what? That's not capitalism at all. That's corporatism, that's crony capitalism. What on God's green earth are you talking about? No one is guaranteed a profit. It's amazing. When we talk about guaranteeing income or guaranteeing a job or guaranteeing housing, the right wing loses their mind. These bombs just throw bootstraps at them, right? And then they go around saying like, what? Aren't we guaranteed profits? I want profits, I demand profits. That's not how business actually works. But they've captured our government so much and corporate media has helped them so much. They just think it's the most normal thing in the world. Oh, they had costs? We should cover them, right? Well, hey guys, do you remember when they sent you the check when Southwest had huge profits? I don't remember a check. I'm pretty sure you don't remember a check. You know why? Because they kept all the money when they had the profits. But when they have costs, Wolf Blitzer and Pete Buttigieg are having a conversation about whether we should pay that goddamn cost. No, they should pay their costs. And if they can't survive, then they should go out of business. That's how capitalism works. That's how free markets work. But that's not how America works. America's been captured by oligarchs.
Exactly. I mean, look, just to give you a sense of how and why Southwest Airlines stands out from the other airlines, which by the way, like that whole industry is just riddled with mega mergers that give travelers less options in which airline they get to fly with if they're traveling, right? So this whole like notion of choice, like, oh, well, if Southwest is screwing you over and you don't like Southwest, you have other options, except in a lot of cases you don't, right? So there's that. But the other thing is, by Monday of this week, travel for the most part normalized, right? The storm was over, the worst part of the storm was over at least, and travel and flights kind of normalized with the exception of Southwest. So Tuesday, meaning today, 87% of Tuesday's US flight cancellations are Southwest flights. And that's according to flight tracking website FlightAware. Southwest canceled more than 2,500 flights. The next highest was, unsurprisingly in my opinion, Spirit Airlines with 83. So Spirit Airlines cancels 83 on the day that Southwest canceled 2,500 flights. And they warned that they're gonna continue canceling flights because they can't get their operations back on track.
Yeah, so first of all, when you can't do as well as Spirit, man, you're in a lot of trouble. Like Spirit's a disaster and they're outshining you. Wow. Okay, now look guys, the main problem here is there's no accountability. So I don't know why the government ever let these companies do what they normally do anyway, these flights where they're like, oh, we overbooked the flights and now your seat is canceled. What do you mean? I paid for a product. And by the way, it's not an optional product. Oh, I can get the stereo later. No, it's a product to get me someplace in time because I have somewhere to go. And they go, no, we don't care. You're not on that flight and you're not gonna get any compensation for it. That's when our representatives should have stuck up for us and go, no, that doesn't make sense. And it's obvious, and we said, wait a minute, what does the government have to do with that? Well, you just don't use that airline, that's called free market. No, but all of the airlines do it. It's an oligopoly. They have an informal rule that they will all together screw over their customers. That's when the government's supposed to go, wait a minute, this is not free market. You guys are working in coordination with each other and you're all screwing over your customers. But we have no representatives in government. We have taxation without representation. So in fact, they take our taxes and they shovel it over to them in the midst of them screwing up.
I remember a few years ago when I was flying to Munich and something happened with one of the connecting flights. It was delayed for some reason, but honestly, in the United States, we're so used to delays and they're bad. I mean, like hours and hours of delays that I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, all right, this flight's delayed like 30 minutes or something. It's no big deal. Once we landed, we get like a voucher for food at the airport and information on how we can apply for reimbursement for the flight. I mean, the flight got us to where we needed to go, but the regulations they have in Europe pertaining to airlines is so different from what we have in the United States. We essentially have no protection. What you just mentioned, Cenk, about how they intentionally overbook flights, I mean, that sets a panic in me every single time I travel. Give you an example, when I was flying back to California from Florida during the holidays, our flight was like at 8:15 in the morning. I was like, we gotta get to the airport at 5 a.m. And everyone's like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, they might change the flight time to earlier without letting us know. And then we're screwed. I gotta get to work on Tuesday. I can't mess around and be stuck at an airport. So yeah, like you have to do so much more and waste so much more time just to avoid getting screwed over or denied the seat that you paid for on that damn flight. So just to give you a little more information on Southwest. So the reason why everything's kind of breaking down is because they have tight turnaround between flights because they want to maximize profits. They want to have as many flights as possible. They also don't invest enough in making that a smooth process once there's an issue like, let's say, a winter storm. They don't have enough manpower. They don't have enough staff. And the way their operations work seems to be pretty chaotic because they can't keep track of where their staff is or where their pilots are. So that's what's kind of caused the big problems that people are experiencing today and several days prior to today with Southwest. It's just a mess.
Yeah, so on Old School, we talked about this a couple of times. They change the time of the flights these days without telling you. Like you'll be at the airport, they'll say let's delay 3 hours, and then you'll go when you're supposed to go, and they're like, just kidding, it left an hour ago. You're like, what? I don't understand. They're like, no, your responsibility. You should have checked on our app. I'm supposed to check your app every minute, even though you told me something else. It's absurd. It's absurd. And they abuse their customers in every way. Now, like if you don't check in for your flight the minute you get the email, like 7 days ahead or 4 days or 2 days, whatever the number is, you're gonna get screwed. Like they got all of us in a panic over 1,000 different things. Because if you go to the airport and you haven't already checked in, you're gonna be like, oh, sorry, your seat's gone. Your seat's gone. Well,
Totally.
when you just came to the airport to get on an airplane, don't you know you have to go through 7 bureaucratic hurdles before that? This is the industry that invented something called the misery index, where they would try to make you more miserable so that you will pay more money to become less miserable. And the entire time, the government has not looked out for us at all. And they bailed those guys out time after time after time. And then you go, well, why don't you just use something else? It's a goddamn plane. What else am I gonna use? Okay, there is no Hyperloop. By the way, other countries, part of the reason why their airlines are also better is because there are alternatives. There's high-speed trains everywhere in the world except America. Because not just the airplanes, but more importantly, the oil industry bribes all of our politicians to make sure that they don't build high-speed trains. So we still have to use cars and planes and use up as much oil as humanly possible.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.